WWT presents Experts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of WWT Experts. I'm your host, Matthew Coble, and today we have with us two experts from Worldwide Technology in this episode in a four-part series on media, entertainment, and gaming, and how that industry approaches stuff like artificial intelligence, digital transformation, security, and today's topic, which is cloud. So with me are George Green, who's Director of Cloud Sales and Strategy at WWT. He enjoys working with our clients and in-house cloud experts across lots of industries to help them drive positive business outcomes by selecting, architecting, and implementing optimal cloud platforms for all of their digital transformation needs. Also with us is Kyle Lindsey, who's a principal consultant at Worldwide Technology, and he's leading our efforts in the media, entertainment, and gaming industry. So as he's talking with clients, he's talking about digital twins, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, infrastructure, really all the things it takes to be excellent within that industry vertical. So, gentlemen, thanks for coming. Great to have you with us today.
Very happy to be here, Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Excited.
Yes. Let's jump right in. So just to kind of begin, how are media companies out there leveraging their in-house data centers and the cloud environments that they have? How do they blend those together? What's going on in the market today?
Yeah, good question. I think if we take a step back and see like historically how have media organizations approach this, let's break that a little bit too. If you look at your over-the-top media services, your OTTs, your Hulus, Netflix of the world, that's one subset of media, and then you look at all of your ad firms, your advertising organizations. But going back, let's say a decade or so, it was primarily data center, and it made it difficult for them to push the right content at the right time to the right people, and especially in a performant way. Folks wouldn't have the stuff they needed cache, and it really didn't really aid in a positive customer experience. So over that last decade, we've seen a big shift to the cloud. I mean, obviously global presence and architectures allow them to quickly scale and get the right content to the right users at the right time. So as we move into 2024 and beyond, we're just going to keep seeing more and more dollars and efforts invested into cloud, just because it absolutely helps from both the usability and getting the right content to the right user. So at a high level, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the gaming companies, media companies, born in the cloud, raised in the cloud. But you got to remember, a lot of these are giant enterprises with multiple different organizations when you think of the IT and the finance side. So you can't really say one size fits all. We definitely see more of a hybrid approach, but definitely cloud forward by far.
Yeah. So as organizations are thinking about kind of their current, cloud strategy or kind of the overall architecture that they're pursuing, like what's that like in 2024, and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, I think having data live where data should live is a big topic that we talk about, right? Yep. And that kind of goes back into kind of this data governance and data hygiene and cleaning up as we're all preparing for this beautiful AI future. There was a lot of organic growth with the gaming companies of just, hey, we're running fast, we're breaking glass. Let's just put anything where it will fit. If I have a Dixie cup, I'm gonna throw stuff in the Dixie cup. There's a lot of maturing of that and actually paying attention to the data and making sure that the data is living in a proper place that they can manage and govern. I see a lot of that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think, to double down on that, for sure, you're seeing the born in the cloud, perspective and organizations that really just started and grew out of the cloud, but others that didn't. So they're able to leverage the hybrid strategy effectively in the OTT space specifically, where they have these big data centers as the origin for that data, and they're pushing a lot of stuff, a lot of this different data to the POPs, to the users in region. And that's effective, as well as just being purely cloud too. So not one size fits all, but certainly I agree at that point.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got to bring up artificial intelligence, right? Because it's on a lot of our minds out in the world. I know we are talking about a lot here at Worldwide Technology and doing a lot of interesting things with AI, both internally and with our clients. But as we think about the media entertainment industry, are they embracing AI? Are they worried about it from kind of a creative standpoint? And how does that affect their decisions relative to data center, cloud, and sort of the architectures of within the organizations?
Yeah, I think we'll start on the media side, and then we'll have some fun on the gaming topic there. But on the media side, it's really allowing them to get more, I should say, personalized content and curation leveraging AI. So now, if we look historically of how ads were delivered, they did digital advertisement, you would do CTV advertisement, and it was really a blanket approach. Yes, they understood demographics regionally and they understood their consumers, but not at an individual level. So Gen AI and AI is allowing these organizations to get direct relevant content to a direct consumer and do it quickly and at scale. So I think we're going to keep seeing more of that, and a shift towards more and more edge computing, as opposed to the edge just being a place where you cached content. So it's going to be a lot more interactive and getting relevant advertisement there. And then I'll let Kyle jump in on that, and then we'll get to the game.
Yeah, well, before you do, so if you're talking about edge computing, I totally get that, historically that was sort of content delivery networks and sort of delivering the right content, caching the right stuff local to me from a network standpoint.
That's right.
But does that shift architectures for these companies to think about edge computing being more sort of about AI and sort of computational tasks that are happening there? So talk about that a little bit.
100%. So when you look at, to your point, the CDN aspect was really just like, how do we cache the content and get them, imagery, or whatever it may be from the content side. But now we're looking at it of you're generating content at the edge, leveraging hyperscaler services. And the hyperscalers themselves are developing services and compute at the edge that allow them to do that stuff in real time, take real-time user analytics and create relevant content on the fly. That is the paradigm shift, where before I had to deliver something to a user so it's performant. If I'm an OTT, make sure I get those videos and movies cached at the edge so it's performant. Now it's a lot more about the user, at least from what I'm hearing. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And the thing I love about the topic is just it's the harmonizing of technologies, right? We don't just talk about edge compute. We don't just talk about CDNs. We don't just talk about AI or this umbrella of AI. It's what is the end experience that is the most important thing. So we've done CDNs forever. We've done edge compute for a mighty long time. We've done AI for a very, very long time. Gen AI, pretty new, especially within gaming, right? I mean, we've been go back to like AlphaGo and go back to some of the early use cases of AI from an ML standpoint. It's really this exciting time of all of them converging, all these technologies converging to really enable that end user experience.
Well, Kyle, how do the game studios feel about the newer generative AI? Because I would imagine that puts some pressure on creatives and some of the people who like to create the storylines there, but there's also a lot of opportunity there. So how's that vibe, and how does that connect into the architectural decisions people make?
Caution, I think, is one of the big themes here. Video game companies are creative houses, right? You have a tremendous amount of artists, writers, creative people that make these amazing games. So there's a lot of caution, but you can use generative AI in creative ways that actually enable the creative people on your staff. So we had a wonderful conversation recently of if you interact with a non-player character, an NPC, they generally have historically a very small dialogue tree. Matt, you're either digging a hole or you're calling your cow home, or you've got three options, right?
Right.
Now, we could potentially at some point throw an LLM behind that and have this endless conversation. That's interesting. That's very expensive. I don't see us doing that anytime soon. But could we do a dialogue tree of 50 branches, of 100 branches? So we've made it smaller. It's not limitless, but we're still using this LLM generative technology to have a better immersive experience. It's those type of AI, generative AI, that I see a lot of embracing.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's obviously the same concerns in talking to multiple gaming clients. They're all interested. They know they have to be in, and they have their concerns around, yes, there's productivity gains in the sense that they can create relevant creative assets quickly, but is it the right assets? Is it preserved the right way? And are you stealing from the creative nature of some of that stuff too?
Yes.
And then also how you go about doing it. And that's a lot of pontification there of, should we invest in all of, let's call it just a full on-prem infrastructure? You're buying all of your NVIDIA equipment, you're sitting in your data center, and is that the right play? Because by the time you get a strategy in place, people in place, get the models trained and in production, there's a very real chance that technology is obsolete.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? So it's how do we address that? And we don't know if there's the right answer of it. If you're leveraging cloud for some balance there, and then you have the on-prem data center aspects of it, and then understand the ROI there too. So it's like, can we use that? And even if it's irrelevant by the time I'm in production, can I now use that for other operational aspects and then upgrade my chipsets and et cetera? So we're seeing a lot. There's two camps, and I'm very interested to see. If you look at it from a volume perspective, I would say more enterprises are going to lean towards cloud, especially in the initial phases of Gen AI. I don't know how that trends long term, but really starting to get, what we're asking clients to do is get your arms around what you think your world could look like and how you would appreciate taking something like this on. And so that's why we're getting a lot more interest in the hyperscaler space, even though I'm the cloud bias guy. But
no. It's that data mobility, right? It's having the data live in the right place at the right time. And it's not easy. Yeah. That's a really tough problem to solve, especially at scale.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Equinix, powering innovation for today and tomorrow. Equinix provides the global reach, the rich ecosystem, and the service excellence today's organizations need to compete and win.
Well, there are a lot of factors going on here for organizations out there, right? Because we've got, we're talking about AI, and so the shifts that's going to make. I know that there are evolutions in sort of regulatory environments for, privacy, data protection, security. Cybersecurity landscape continues to change a lot. So how are organizations in this industry vertical really thinking through their future planning for, their compute, storage, data needs? On-prem, on the cloud, hybrid, how are they making those decisions? How are they putting those plans together?
Yeah,
sounds like it's hard right now.
No, when you take all the factors of AI, Gen AI, and just really the expansion of cloud even more than it is today. I mean, I think a lot of the legacy architectures, it will work for a lot of the same things we're doing, but as we really embark on more of the Gen AI stuff, that's an interesting conversation that they're having. And I think some of it they don't know. I think they have an idea, but they're going to be very cautious and wade in with one toe at a time to ensure a lot of these different privacy policies and restrictions that are coming out security-wise and compliance. They just have to be careful. So I don't know if I have a direct answer on the how it's influencing architectures. We're seeing, not to digress on the point, but we're seeing more in even just user performance and how do they scale their footprint of users. I mean, when you look at VR and AR and all the different gaming modalities, historically it's been, well, now all my consumers may have special devices. And well, that limits your ability to scale as an enterprise gaming company. So now we have to say, how can we leverage, whether it's an on-prem strategy or hyperscaler service, to deliver, a multiplayer service where they can be across the globe at low latency and do it on any device. And I think that's going to be the nirvana here when we get there. I know they're doing it in some regard, but weaving AI and Gen AI into the story is going to be the real challenge, I think, that we're gonna have to address.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting thing that you were just going to also around that agnosticism around the consumption, that end device, right? Mm-hmm. I think we have this nirvana where we don't have to buy this $3,000-$4,000 gaming rig. We're not buying 5 different flavors of consoles and 3 different flavors of handheld. And am I using my Android, my iOS? How do we really re-architect the experience so we're very agnostic there? So I think that's a interesting adventure that a lot of the companies are on.
Yeah. I think there's other, 2 segues, not to, jump ahead of you, Matt, if you're going to ask me these questions, but around just even the networking things. I heard a lot about 5G. How can they leverage 5G, what that's going to look like? Network slicing for particular regions or applications or games, and it's really focused on enabling really what you just said there. So I think I'm very curious to see where some of that goes. But real interest, lots of clients, both on media and gaming, are asking their partners around how can they do that, when should they do that, and and really where's the ROI.
And I think, I'm just going to add one more thing there, because I think this is why media entertainment and gaming really lead technology across all industries. I mean, whether you're talking healthcare or enterprise or finance, a lot of these technologies cut their teeth within gaming, because you have these employee experiences. All of those businesses have customers, right? So there's these fundamental customer experiences, employee experiences that really have hit their first initial technology hurdles and challenges, how we operationally and actually bring it out there. It's happened in gaming and media and entertainment.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's, I hope that there are others, watching this who aren't in the media entertainment industry, because there's a lot to learn from this industry in terms of things that they're doing. And, one thing that occurs to me within that is, game worlds, media entertainment historically has been kind of this space that I go into that's kind of separate from my day-to-day life. But as you talk about, interoperability across different device types, and we're talking about cloud and sort of edge computing, it starts to be the case, it seems to me, that kind of game worlds can spill into the real world. And maybe that's AR and VR stuff, but also it could just be other ways that game worlds and media spill into the real world. So I'm curious if you see organizations thinking that way strategically in terms of their creative, or they really like to sort of stay in this sort of game world that's separate and distinct from reality, and how's the cloud powering that or not, right?
So it feels like a loaded question. I think for sure, it blends into the real world. I mean, because gaming companies often want to be media companies often want to be gaming companies.
Yeah,
so
and they both want to be like real world companies too, right?
Yeah,
whether it's a theme park or some other space where they show up in the real world.
Yeah, so you're seeing that meld into it's funny when you ask the real world, where we're seeing more interest is actually in the virtual world, the adoption of the meta platforms, the AI platforms which is exciting for me and for our clients is this is creating an ecosystem of new enterprise for new commerce for the industry. I mean, now when you start having these meta platforms, now users can go out there and find, create, and leverage services that are already provided by the gaming industry to create a whole new market out there, and I think that's just going to expand. So I know I didn't directly answer your question, but
that's okay.
We're certainly seeing a real world applicability here, and I think the organizations do need to take a step back and make sure that when we look at the real world aspect of it, that they don't get over their skis, and because they're so progressive and push boundaries often in tech, that they do still take a little bit of a conservative approach to ensure that all of the right pieces are in place from compliance and security and user experience too. So we're seeing it, and it is funny to watch this across different industries like healthcare and manufacturing and other, I don't want to call them laggards, but folks that aren't as progressive as the gaming industries. We're learning a lot from both. I think the traditional enterprises learn from gaming and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And I go back, there was a time when you interacted with technology with a big box on your desk, right?
Right.
And that was really your only time.
Ago.
And that was not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
Now we all have computers in our pockets. Yes. So we're interacting with compute technology in the real world. We're doing this constantly. I'm very bullish on augmented reality. And I think this you're starting to see some really amazing things with this combination of glasses and actually generative AI, like some of the stuff Meta is doing with Ray-Ban. So you have all of this merging of technologies to bring it out into the wild. We're just going to see that more and more grow.
Well, you're seeing it in e-commerce and in retail, where they've leveraged some of the goodness that, let's say, the gaming industries have implemented around, to your point, AR. It's like you can go on to Amazon now and look for a couch and then take my device and put that couch in my living room.
Yeah.
So, it's absolutely bleeding into just traditional enterprise. I think we're going to see more of that. I don't know exactly how it'll change the enterprise's focus, but whether it be across retail or others, they're asking a lot about it. And healthcare has been a very interesting one, especially as we get into Gen AI and AI, and the AR, VR stuff. That's going to be a very big area that healthcare is focusing on too, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, well, Kyle, I'm going to come at you with this question. I know that you are a fan of digital twins, right? And you've done a lot of work on that. I'm curious, I would think that kind of cloud architecture is really kind of a key to make digital twin stuff work in most contexts, right? So how organizations think about pairing up cloud and digital twins in the market?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting topic because digital twin is still a poorly defined term at best, right? Yep. Means different things to different people. But I think if you really try to look at it from the standpoint of a representation of a physical thing, a building, a tool, a product, only digitally, and be able to interact with it, and then have multiple layers of interactivity, whether it's just at the moment of looking at it, or we're working with some very interesting projects of adding machine learning to have like degradation. What would it look like to have a window per se, but that window, how would it be after 4 hurricanes? So start adding like just real world kind of applications,
scenario modeling,
scenarios modeling,
sure.
all of that. That all entails very large scale, which goes directly into the cloud, right? I mean, how do we scale these digital twin experiences? How do we scale the digital twin modeling? That's definitely a cloud forward.
Yeah, even operationally, right? You see a lot more, and you asked a question around architecture for enterprises that aren't there, that are, let's call, more traditional, monolithic applications are absolutely and just going to continue to focus on serverless-based architectures and microservice-based architectures where they can spin, immutable infrastructure, where they can spin stuff up, spin it down. It allows developers to be quicker, allows a better user experience, and really starts to meld into the FinOps conversation of how can I do this the most cost-effective way too. These were no longer the days of you can sit down and do capacity planning and really determine exactly how many VMs you'll need, because you can't always predict how many users, whether you're a media organization, of how many people are going to consume the thing you're advertising, or a game of how many are going to consume it. So you really do need to be focusing on those microservice-based architectures.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, gentlemen, let's imagine that we're sitting with an executive team or sort of a technology leadership team, and we're thinking about next year, next 2 years, next 3, 4, 5 years out, right? And I've got, sort of my data center possibilities. I've got my public cloud possibilities. I've got hybrid, and we're providing them counsel with what they should be thinking about to make good decisions around this. And I know we can't necessarily do this or that, it's not clear, but what advice are you giving them, or what things are you having them keep in mind to approach decision making like that? Say, all right, if you're going to think about that, you got to do these 3 things. Like, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'll go. I think on the topic of we're excited about AI is the flavor of the next decade probably, and Gen AI too. So cloud is inherently, we're having those traditional conversations around transformational efforts, et cetera. But the burning question is, what do I do with Gen AI and AI, and how do I responsibly tackle that? So I think my advice to an executive team would be, don't wait at least on thinking and start pontificating on how you could use it. Build a hypothesis around a strategy you may want to employ, and then leverage hyperscalers to test that. Because we're seeing mistakes where folks will order all of the hardware, order all the software, and then it's sitting there, they don't have teams to do it, and it's costing a lot of money. So, leverage your partners, leverage your internal teams, and I would say from a cost-effective perspective, you can leverage the cloud now to start testing those different things, and then different use cases, and then take those to your partners and really have a POC to say, how can I do this in production? Should it be on-prem? Should it be in the cloud? Or is it a hybrid model? And that would be my advice, is don't wait. Just like when cloud started, 12, 15 years ago, and it became a real thing in enterprise, you didn't want to wait too long, but you also didn't want to jump in with both feet, because then you can be irresponsible. And I think even with AI and Gen AI particularly, so much is advancing so quickly that you do need to wait carefully, but you got to be thinking about it now.
Yeah, start small. There's a lot of analysis paralysis out there, and a lot of fear. I need to buy X amount of GPUs today, and I don't even know what I'm going to do with them. There's ways that you can start small, and then the hyperscalers are the way to do that, to start dipping your toe. I think outside of the box, right? I mean, there's a lot of organizations have lots of different ways that they can implement a generative AI in a call center, in product side of the house, in an internal facing. I caution a lot of my folks, look internally, right? Have some kind of internal consumption. We've done our WWT GPT. I mean, so there's ways that you can do internal consumption, start dipping your toe. because you also have to think about the day two, the carrying and the feeding, the operationalizing of these generative AIs. And it's going to be a big journey for all of us. So start small.
It is. In the cloud, we keep saying hyperscalers, and that's absolutely going to be a very popular place to leverage this. But even the OEMs that have cloud offerings,
that's a good point
too. So if you're an enterprise that is, a traditional OEM shop, a Dell shop, an NVIDIA shop, whatever it may be, they also, many of them offer a hyperscaler version of their own GPU offering. So it's just encourage you, whatever you're comfortable with, to at least start thinking about it and putting some stuff down on paper. And your point, starting small is the best way to put it, really.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. Well, I'm sure we've learned a lot from you all today. Appreciate you so much for joining us. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Always fun.
All right, well, thanks for being here today with us. Another great session and part of our 4-part series on media, entertainment, and gaming and how it's affected by things like AI, digital transformation, security. Of course, today's topic, cloud. And look, we've got a great catalog of episodes out there on WWT.com for you to check out. A lot of stuff coming up in the calendar going ahead forward in time. Plenty of stuff in the back catalog you can watch on demand anytime. Go to WWT.com/events. and check that out. Love to have some feedback from you. If you like today's session, you got some questions for me or our guests, please let us know. We'll get back to you on that. And with that, that will wrap our session for today. Thanks for coming, and we will see you next time.